Let's start with what brought us here today to begin with. There's something going on in your world that drove you to this webinar today. Global trends in manufacturing, driven by smart automation, is causing changes to how manufacturers run our businesses, including how we manage our sales channel. Managing that change often starts with taking a step back and looking at what we're measuring today, why we're measuring it, and how that needs to change going forward. Let's look at a commonly used analogy in sports. Major League Baseball has certainly evolved since 1869 when it was founded. There's a lot more teams, a lot more games, and the rules have changed over time. But the game has basically stayed the same. This picture is from the movie Moneyball, which is based on the true story of the Oakland A's and their general manager, Billy Beane, played here by Brad Pitt. After the A's lost to the Yankees in the 2001 American League Divisional Series, a frustrated Billy Beane took a step back and challenged the industry norms around how to measure player performance and how those measurements drive which players to sign. They hadn't changed in years. The three basic metrics used for decades to measure a player's ability were stolen bases, runs batted in, and batting average. To make a long story short, Billy Beane meets a young Yale grad student named Peter Brand, who at the time had radical ideas around how to assess a player's value using different metrics. They tested a new theory of selecting players based on these new metrics called on-base percentage and slugging percentage for the next 2002 season. Simply by using new measurements to build the next team, the A's set a record for most wins and made the playoffs on the third lowest payroll in the league. They got more done more efficiently with less money. Today, these measurements have become the new norm throughout the league. So what does this have to do with our topic at hand today and how we manage sales channels? We can start by asking ourselves what assumptions we make today around lead generation, sales, and service quality. What comes to mind in your organizations when it comes to these three metrics? How do you measure how well of a job your sales channel is doing across these three dimensions? As the megatrends driving Industry 4.0 continue to evolve, are things we've always measured the right things to measure today and going forward? Or are the things we measure today simply outdated? So let's take a deeper dive into key performance indicators next. Before we get into this, ask yourself, how has measurement in your organization changed over the years? Or better yet, how long have you been measuring the same old things? What things have you never measured and still don't today that you wish you could measure? What metrics are reported on and used frequently between you and your channel partners in order to have productive discussions on how to help them maximize their performance for themselves and your organization? Well, it goes without saying that getting from point A to point B in any business requires some degree of measuring things that quantitatively tell us if we're on course or not as we work towards hitting our business goals. In the channel, here are three ways we commonly group objectives. Commonly at the top of the list is growth, top line revenue growth, then broken down by partner, revenue mix, and other subcategories. Market share is often next with a subset of measurements that collectively tell us what the trends are there. And finally, other metrics relating to how efficient we are working with our channel partners are often in place. We often like to say that the efficiency metrics tell us how fast the engine is running, and measurements around revenue and market share tell us how fast we're going and how far we've gone. You need both, and the key is to get the farthest, the fastest, as efficiently as possible. Three common things relating to Industry 4.0 principles are data analytics, integration of multiple systems, and the security of these systems. Here you see these principles brought to life in a partner overview dashboard. In this view and others, we see real-time data that depicts trends tied to the KPIs that we've defined are important for us to measure. This view is a good example of measurements tied to activity in the sales channel, or in other words, how fast our engine is running. It shows us how engaged our partners are with us by showing us trends in their use of our systems and content. This view shows us trends tied to future revenue or leads and opportunities. It helps us predict how successful we'll be relating to our revenue goals going forward. These KPIs measure progress toward goals broken by progress against activities. Activities can include things like participation in training events, certification progress, coaching sessions, plan reviews, and other common activities associated with managing a sales channel and our partners. In today's Industry 4.0 environment, we can and should pull data from whatever system it resides from and package it in a way that every woman in the sales channel can understand it in real time. Most importantly, this data should be as upstream as possible so that it can be used early enough in order to allow people in our sales channel to make better decisions in order to maximize our results going forward. Most importantly, in our view, these KPIs and the capabilities we're looking at must be pushed to our channel partners. They're the ones that need to be embraced by them and valued as a tool set that helps them run their business more profitably. To sum things up, when we transform our sales channels as part of our Industry 4.0 transformation, we recommend that you start with measurement, not end with it. Define the key drivers that are going to allow your organization to hit its goals. Figure out where the data resides that needs to be brought forward and integrated with all the other data sets in order to create the views of that data that we need to measure progress against our goals. Do this while standing in your partner's shoes and create KPI sets and dashboards for your partners to use in order to help them run their businesses better. If we can help our partners hit their goals, as manufacturers, we'll hit our goals. That's the mentality and approach that must be in place in the Industry 4.0 world we compete in today. But sales channels get pretty complex pretty quickly. When you only have a few partners, and most of the collaboration with those partners is done with the help of email and spreadsheets, it's manageable. But you're probably here today spending some time with us because you're feeling the pain of outgrowing that way of doing business. So ask yourself a few questions. What drives the complexity in your sales channel? How much of that complexity is driven by shifting customer needs and preferences for interacting with you? Or how much of it has to do with common internal challenges like functional departments that don't talk to each other, and in doing so make it hard for channel partners, or worse yet, end customers, to work with us? Are some of the challenges a symptom of our internal culture and attitudes towards customers and channel partners, or is it a result of poor communication, or both? These questions are tough questions to ask ourselves, but the reality is, based on what we've learned from working with hundreds of companies over 15 years, oftentimes we're our own worst enemy when it comes down to it. Let's take a look at why that is. We've developed a simple model to help manufacturers think about where they are and where they're heading when it comes to sales channel maturity. The horizontal axis here is based on the number of partners in the channel. On the left, we have no partners at all. On the right, we have all the partners we need around the world. The vertical axis reflects the performance level of our partners. At the bottom, performance is low. At the top, it's high. Every manufacturer goes through three distinct phases when it comes to developing their sales channel. In the emerging growth phase, we're first starting out to build our channel. Our priorities for investment in time, technology, and people are usually focused on finding partners, assessing them in terms of the right fit, then if it's a good fit, entering into agreements with them. We focus on getting them up to speed and getting them as productive as soon as possible. We frequently tweak our approaches and agreements based on the early experience we get by signing up our first partners. Based on how that goes and their feedback, we modify our plan accordingly until we get it just right. The second phase then is the scale phase. Once we've worked out the kinks in our process, our workflows, and our agreements with our partners in the first phase, we're ready to scale our channel. It's in this phase that we see a lot of companies outgrow the spreadsheet and email approach we often find in the first phase. In this phase, we need technology to help us scale our channel. Our focus here is on recruiting more and more partners and getting them ramped up and productive as quickly as possible. In this phase, we go from a few partners in phase one to many. The people we have on our team begin to get stretched, and technology has to be used to assist our team in managing the many moving parts associated with the increasing number of channel partners. At some point, we finally get into phase three. In this phase, we've signed up all the partners we need to cover the territories and regions that we want to operate in. This phase is all about continuous improvement, getting more yield and productivity out of the network of channel partners we already have. It's in this phase that we get sophisticated when it comes to measurement. We need good data and insights into that data to optimize our channel performance. Part of doing that is making sure our channel partners have the information they need to make better decisions for their businesses. If they all do that well, then we hit our goals too. Of course, we want to stay clear of the sub-optimized phase in the lower right here. In that scenario, we have a lot of channel partners, but they're not performing well. Unfortunately, we run across a lot of companies in this scenario. However, there is a way to get through the three other phases right the first time. You're not the first company to ever build a sales channel. And today, there's technology and processes based on best practices that can help us get it right the first time. Industry 4.0 is bringing new complexity to our channels today. In our experience, this complexity boils down to three things. First, technology. While having the right technology strategy is essential to scaling a channel, it can also be our worst enemy if we don't plan for it right. Today, most sales channels need multiple IT systems to support all the things we have to provide to our end customers and our channel partners. These IT systems usually work great in isolation. The complexity happens when they're all used together without a plan for integration. We'll get more into this issue later. Next is channel conflict. This is a hard one to untangle once it happens. Essentially, channel conflict happens when there isn't a clear understanding of the process by which an end customer engages with us in order to allow them to buy from us or get service for what they've bought. Today, there are two common drivers of this channel conflict. The first is the universal trend that end customers are increasingly going right to the source, to the manufacturer, for the best information about a product, then wanting to buy direct from that source instead of channel partners. This is happening whether we like it or not, and many manufacturers and their channel partners are in denial that it's happening. Here, the conflict is simply driven by the growing desire for end customers to deal directly with the manufacturer and bypass channel partners. The second kind of channel conflict is driven by manufacturers who sell through their own sales force or directly to end customers over the internet, alongside a network of existing independent channel partners. One of the other drivers for channel conflict has to do with the radically changing way B2B buyers want to buy things. B2B buying behavior has changed dramatically in the recent past due to the ubiquitous nature of the internet and the information we can get because of it. In some industries, it's bringing into question the traditional roles that our channel partners used to have as they represented us in the marketplace. If a potential customer can go straight to the source as they're researching potential solutions to their problems, that our product may solve, what do we need to do differently today to be ready when they want that information? What new roles do our channel partners play then? Today, manufacturers are all dealing with these three issues at once, all the time, in varying degrees depending on which company we're talking about. These are the drivers of complexity, and it's our job as channel leaders to factor them into our planning. When we think about the three drivers of complexity, we need to recognize a few other realities as they relate to today's sales channels. At the highest level, channels simply aren't the same anymore. It used to be that you have to have channel partners in order to sell and service a product in a region we wanted to operate in. That's not so true anymore. Think about Tesla, for example, and how they're a car company without a dealer network. Secondly, B2B buyers today are lost in the process of buying. By that, we mean that the number of stakeholders required to make major B2B buying decisions has exploded. It's buying by committee out there. Studies have shown that we're now dealing with buying groups, not individual buyers, more than ever before. And because it's easy, these buying groups can continue to assess more and more options before they make a final decision to buy. There's more to it than that, but it's simply easy to keep searching for alternatives, and they do. This is posing a tremendous challenge for manufacturers, especially those who sell complex products. Today, leads come from all corners of the globe for many of us. Even startups today view the world as their market from day one. As long as we want it to be, our market is global no matter what we sell today. That sounds great, but selling globally is fraught with challenges that fall into the "we don't know what we don't know" category. There are legal, taxation, and regulatory issues that are unique outside our own country that have to be addressed. We also learn real quick how cultural differences can create a challenge when trying to expand our sales channel outside the country and in dealing with end customers in other parts of the world. For example, the enhanced privacy laws that the EU has recently implemented is driving a widespread need for many of us who sell throughout Europe to alter our ways of communicating with and selling to end customers and new business leads, and how we work with our foreign sales partners. Finally, as I mentioned before, oftentimes technology is our friend, but sometimes it gets in our way. The emergence of good technology almost always starts with addressing a problem that exists that can be solved with a technical solution. As we deal with the other three challenges as sales channel leaders, throwing technology at them is not always the answer. We'll get into how to think about technology in more depth shortly. A few very simple questions can help us develop strategies to deal with this fluid, increasingly complex industry that we operate in today. First, start with the end customer in mind. For example, is today's prospective customer going to search on the internet for a solution to a problem, or look for a dealer to go talk to about it first? The answer to that question in many industries is not the same as it was not too long ago. Once we have a clear, objective-driven view of our current and target customers' preferences, how well aligned are our processes and technologies to those preferences? Do the roles that our channel partners play in the process need to change? For example, should more investment be made at the manufacturing level in marketing assets if today's sales leads are doing their own research and prefer to go to the source, the manufacturer, for the latest and greatest information on our products? If so, then spending money and giving technology tools designed for channel partners to develop leads at their level like we've always done is a mistake. In this scenario, the manufacturer needs to carry the load more on marketing and lead generation, not the channel partners. Finally, given all of this, What things that we've always done should we simply stop doing? Are we still managing our sales channel like it's 1985? If so, let's get real and re-engineer the channel for today's Industry 4.0 world.